Hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. So excited about this session, all on events. We're going to be chatting about the different roles in events, how to wedge that foot right in the door, get you guys in there, and obviously talk about any skills and experience that you might need. This is all about you. So I just want you guys to get the most out of this session today. If you have any questions that you want to ask the panelists or myself, then just pop your questions in at any point in the Q&A section, and then we'll get through as many of them as we possibly can at the end. So yeah, just keep sending your questions through because I just want you guys to get the most out of this. So I'm Charlie Hedges. I am a radio presenter on BBC Radio 1 and a DJ. I do dance anthems every Saturday from 4 p.m, which if you haven't been, come along because it's basically a big day rave, which is so much fun. And I also do weeknights 8 p.m. till 10 with Ricky and Melvin, who I got to see in person, all three of us together for the first time last night, which is madness because we've been alternating, two of us in the studio at once at the minute and one from home. So yeah, it was really nice for us all to be together. Now, like I said, this session is all about events. I've been really lucky enough to have DJ'd and performed at some festivals, clubs, whether they've been big festivals, small festivals, clubs the same. So I really appreciate the hard work that goes on behind the scenes in, you know, even getting an event off the ground, let alone actually putting one on. So this is why I'm here with you today. And as Nick Grimshaw said earlier, I'm a serial raver. So hopefully this is going to be a fun one. So we're going to discover all the jobs within live events today. Some that you probably may have known existed, but there might be some that you didn't even know existed, which is a good thing as well. And for me, it's really important that you guys come away from this knowing the absolute truth. Like, this is about finding the ins and outs of what our three panelists do, and yeah, just getting them to be really honest, telling you the good things about working in events and also the bad stuff as well, because you know it ain't all pretty all the time, and you need to know that. If you've got any questions, again, please send them in. So let's get the guests on. Enough of me, that's well boring. So today we are joined by Claire Bynoe, who is a live events production management assistant. Hello, the lovely Claire, there she is.
Hey Charlie, how are you? You okay?
I'm good, you're looking beautiful as always.
Oh, thank you so much, so are you. So nice to see you.
You too, mate. We've also got Chris Jammer, who is co-founder of Strawberries and Cream Festival. Yes, Chris, how's it going?
What's going on, Charlie? All right?
Yes, good, thank you. Thanks for being here. And then last but not least, we've got Kate Giff, who is the Roundhouse events manager as well. Hello, mate.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So you can see all their beautiful faces now, guys. Don't be scared. No question is stupid either. Like, even if you're sitting there now going, this question sounds stupid, it is not stupid. I have asked worse questions, let me tell you. So get them in. Right, guys, let's get cracking. Claire, I'm going to start with you. Tell us about how live events work at Radio 1 and what your role is.
So basically our team, we work across all the flagship events for all the BBC radio networks. For Radio 1 in particular, we cover the likes of Big Weekend, which moves around every single year to a new location. We also do Radio 1 in Ibiza, which is great if you get that one to get over there. And also the smaller kind of gigs. So if Annie Mac ever does a session at Maida Vale, or if we have any live lounges and stuff like that, we are the team that across sort of the logistics and the organisation of it all. We also partner up with other festivals as well. So we've done some stuff with Wedding and Leeds. Anything that you see where the Radio 1 logo is where we'll be on the ground doing some little bits as well. But my role in particular is very logistical, very organisation. So I look after the things like accreditation, which is basically making sure everyone's on the list, the working crew, so you can actually get in. Sometimes thousands of people, thousands of names to deal with. And also travel, so making sure everyone actually gets there, accommodation, booking hotels, and also catering, which is the most important part. Because everyone wants to get fed, don't they? So yeah, that is kind of my role as a whole. It's very fast paced, but it's also so sick to be able to work at some of, you know, the biggest events.
I mean, what you've just said there, like, I think that it just sounds so exciting, which is amazing. And later on, I want to get into, maybe the stuff that isn't as exciting, because to the glamorous side, there is definitely a non-glamorous side as well. So Claire,
100%.
delve more into that in a bit. Chris, now you're the co-founder of the incredible festival Strawberries and Cream. How the heck did it all start for you? I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah, Strawberries and Cream has been a bit of a journey. Started 7 years ago while I was studying at university, off the back of like club nights. I was a club promoter, had to make some money, and we had a kind of a bit of a pop-in club night. And from there, we decided to do an end of year party outdoors. And we decided, why not call it a festival? So the first one was like 500 people. Didn't really know what I was doing, kind of probably most drunk person on the site, but I just loved events. And the event went really well. There was a load of mistakes, obviously, as our first one, but we kind of built up a brand that people wanted to come back to, and there was so much demand the year after. And we've kind of just grown it slowly, but surely over the last few years, booking the likes of Skepta, J Hus, AJ Tracy, D Block Europe, and then the likes of like T-Pain, Nelly and Shaggy as well. This
Look
year,
at him dropping the names in like that.
Yeah, we've had a good roster over the last few years, but this year we're scaling up massively over the pandemic. Really great to be back and got like the likes of Burna Boy, Pie Next Door, Coffee, Bugsy Malone headlining. So super excited, love my job. So glad I do it full time.
And again, Chris, like we're going to be delving into how you've actually got this off the ground in terms of stress levels, and delving into that side as well, because you talking about again then it all sounds amazing, but I'm sure along the way there's been a lot of hurdles. So you hang on there for me, because we're going to come back to that as well. And Kate, now you are the events manager at the legendary live performance space Roundhouse, which is incredible. And am I right in saying you're sort of tailored more to the corporate side?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what does that entail?
So I want to start off by saying, just because it has corporate in the title doesn't mean it's super boring. It's a really fun job.
Kate.
Loads of variety as well. So basically, so Roundhouse is predominantly a gig venue, but we hire it out for private clients as well. So when we're not doing gigs, we can be doing anything from huge charity galas for incredible charities that everyone would have heard of, fashion shows. We also do some private gigs ourselves, festivals, that kind of thing. So it basically entails working with loads of different people. It's different from these guys' jobs in that I don't travel around and do my job in different places. They come to me, so I'll act as a venue manager. It means knowing all of the quirks of a venue, which is really fun, because you really feel like a boss when people ask you questions. You're like, yeah, it's over there. And just making sure people are behaving, and then just making sure you're there to facilitate them to do incredible events.
So how did you even get into that, Kate? Like, how did you get into this side of work?
Trial and error. I would say I definitely didn't know that I wanted to work in events. I had quite so I went to university, and I was part of the music societies there, and I was doing some kind of pop-up events. I did radio there as well, for the radio station, and then that helped me get an internship. I had an internship at Viacom at NTV. And it was while I was there, I was doing more the music side of things, but we would do events, and being on site, there is just like a buzz on site that it's hard to describe unless you experience it. It's just amazing, and it's such a great community when you come together with everyone working on an event. And I just loved it. I fell in love with it. So I was working in Camden at NTV, and I saw the job come up just down the road at Camden Roundhouse, and so I just went for it. And yeah, I've just grown as part of the role, and the role has grown, and the venue has grown, and it's been amazing. And I'm really lucky that I get to do some stuff outside of my job, work at different festivals and events as well. So,
you know what's so nice? Like, just watching you, and hopefully you guys that are watching this as well can see this, just like the joy in your voices and the smiles on all your faces when you're talking about your jobs. Like, it's just epic. I'm buzzing. I'm coming to do your jobs after this.
Yeah, come to the Roundhouse, Charlie.
I'll come and do some work experience. Now, Chris, obviously you are co-founder of the festival, but for someone watching this right now, if someone said to me, right, you're going to go and set up your own festival, I'll be like, okay, how do I even do that? That seems impossible to me. So for anyone watching this right now that wants to start their own festival, what do they do? Like, how do you even start?
I think before you start, you've got to really know that you want to do it, and you kind of got to have a passion there, because it might be very glitz and glamour from the outside of things, but it's a lot of stress, and I kind of work all year round for like one weekend, which is mental. So I think kind of getting involved and knowing the industry a little bit. I started off, as I said, through the club stuff, and just working. I was a simple ticket promoter, making £1 of a ticket, selling to my uni mates, understanding kind of what goes in. And it's just starting off really small, and not trying to bite off more than you can chew. I think the most important thing that I've learned is just exactly that, like, grow slowly, because every year there's a new thing that comes up that we haven't thought of or that we encountered. So like the first year, I think it was, we thought we could do all the food ourselves. So we decided everyone's going to definitely want 1 burger and 2 hot dogs on site. So we ordered like 1,000 hot dogs and 500 burgers, and no one really wanted to eat anything. So we're left with all these things in our fridge. But we then realized that we should never do the food ourselves and leave it to professionals. So it's kind of, there's loads of different hurdles that you'll come across every year, but it's just taking it slow and kind of getting in there and trying to get some experience from the ground up.
And like, I suppose social media as well is such a good way to like get a name out there, or start selling tickets, or at least start talking about events. Even if you're like not at uni and able to sell tickets, or you're not at college, or you're not in that sort of environment where you know tons of people, going on social media, surely, we can all set up accounts. That has got to be a good way to start as well, right?
Yeah, social media is super important. I remember when we were trying to scale up, we were messaging random people that we just kind of like had geotagged Cambridge to be like, we've got a festival, come to the festival. And we were like really hustling to sell the tickets to the events. And at the end of the day, like I'm a kind of a promoter. I have done all of the kind of the setup and like the booking talent and the booking security and all that sort of stuff. But I'm here to sell tickets primarily. And there's so many ways you can be innovative about doing that, where it's creating a splash on social media, or just literally directly hustling and trying to expand your own network. And I think your network at the end of the day is your net worth in this thing. So many doors open from just trying to connect with people and putting yourself out there.
Guys, as well, if you're watching right now and you've got any questions off the back of stuff like this, then there's a Q&A box down the bottom. Please send in all your questions, because we are going to get to them all at the end, right? I won't interrupt the guys at this bit, but as soon as we get to the end of our chat, then we'll go through all your questions. So please send them in. Claire, tell us about your journey getting into Radio 1 on the events team. How did that come about?
So I feel like I kind of just ended up in events, but I knew for a fact I wanted to be working at Radio 1. I wanted to be working within music, working in radio, and just so happened that we cover radio sort of events as well. So it was just a nice kind of tie-in together. I was a bit like, I wish I had something like this to go to, because I didn't really know how to get into it and go to Q&As and that sort of thing. I was doing a nursing degree and I was just like, no, this is not for me. I changed my course and I then did a journalism degree because it had a bit of radio stuff in. And then from then I was just looking at people's jobs that I would like to do at Radio 1, and literally just started messaging them. Can we meet up for a chat? I'd come down to London, would go for a coffee, or I'd go into the office to meet them, and just kind of try and get my face and my name out there and circulating, and just show the passion to want to be at Radio 1 and want to work on the floor. I also did some voluntary work at a community radio station, and they also did little events and small events, which was a part of. So it was just building up those network contacts, and just trying to get that experience. And then finally, it all paid off, and I landed this amazing role at Radio 1.
But you got the role because look at, just listening to you there, look how much you've done, look how hard you've worked. And also I think, which is really interesting, is that you didn't go straight into this. You was, doing nursing. So I think that's important.
Completely different.
But that's so important though, because, you could be in a job now and thinking, my gosh, like I would love to do events, and it doesn't matter what you are doing right now, whether you're doing nothing or something, it's never too late to change, right? And if you are passionate about a certain industry, then this is the time to do it, surely.
Definitely. And just go for it, and look at the people who are doing those jobs that you might want to do, and talk to them and find out a little bit more if it's for you or not. I think that's a great way to start.
Hey, I just feel like you are going to be the most organized person. Are you? Do you have to be for your job?
Yes, I would say it depends. In my personal life, I can be a bit of a mess, I'm not gonna lie. But as soon as I am on an event, yes, you have to be organized. You can't really get away with bluffing it. But also there's always people who can help you do that. So if you're sitting there thinking, but I don't know how to do a proper to-do list and all that kind of stuff, someone will be there to help you. And it's just about practice and patience as well. I was not as good at all of the logistics when I first started as I am now. And I'm still, there's still places for me to go. I can still learn how to do it. But yeah, you definitely have to enjoy the kind of paperwork, the thinking things through, the checking stuff off a list. I love that. I love to have my huge list at the start of an event.
I know
when I first meet the client. Yeah. And then the day after an event, you're like, yeah, that's the last thing done. So I would say you probably need to enjoy even a little bit of that.
And Chris, I mean, you mentioned about overdoing it with the old food order a minute ago. I don't believe that that's probably the only stressful thing that has happened to you in terms of getting a festival off the ground, because you've got to worry about numbers, people turning up. What has anything gone terribly wrong as you've been starting?
What hasn't gone terribly wrong? It's always something. I think one of the main issues that I've had, actually, probably the most horrible one I had to deal with was the rain last year. No, not last year, 2019. It rained for 2 weeks solid while we were setting up the festival site. And it was an absolute kind of, that looked like the dark side of the moon. It was horrible. It was so muddy. I've got scars on my calves from where my Wellington boots were digging into my legs. And everyone on site, apart from the core team, was like, this event is never going to happen. And we were just so blindly focused in what we wanted to do, and just in getting the show on the road. I think 10 minutes before the show last year, I said, we've got to pull this. And the doors just opened and everyone came in and trampled down the mud, and everyone had a good time. So as an event owner, it was I wanted to be so perfect in my head. I had this vision of what I wanted Strawberries and Cream 2019 to look like, and it didn't look like that. So I kind of thought, I've really let myself down. We failed. But actually, once the people are inside and they're listening to music and their drinks are flowing and whatever, everyone had a great time. And here we are doing another bigger event. So it must have been all right, even though it might have not been a success in my head.
And I feel like if you are the owner, if you're the organizer, or whatever you guys are doing for a living, if something goes wrong, that it feels completely on your shoulders, and it also feels so much bigger than probably what it is to everybody else. So, and I also feel like if stuff doesn't go wrong in life, then you don't really appreciate what you've got. And I feel like it's, when things do go wrong, it just makes you better, don't it? It makes you more capable of dealing with situations, not stressing out as much, and dealing with the stress, surely.
Yeah, completely. Everything that goes wrong is a learning curve at the end of the day. And as long as you live to tell the tale, or you can come out the other side, then it's not the end of the world at the end of the day. So we're back and we're bigger than ever. So and we've known now how to deal with rain and what precautions need to happen so that our festival site doesn't turn into a mud bath. But that we wouldn't have known that because it's been sunshine the whole time.
Claire, let's talk about big weekend. Come on, this weekend.
Yes, I'm so excited to watch some of the sets are so good. You're in for a treat.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Same with you, Claire. Again, it's well exciting that you are working on big weekend, but when stuff goes wrong on the day, how do you deal with it?
I think it's all about how you react to it. I think you've got to just remain calm, think logically, don't overreact with anything, no matter how big or small, and just think, I can resolve it. And if you need to ask for help, never be afraid to be like, actually, I need help with something, and escalate up to someone else who might be able to fix it for you. Because no matter how much you plan for things, there's bound to be something on the day. Someone misses their train, a presenter misses their train who's supposed to be, doing a live broadcast at the event, or someone doesn't have catering. It's absolutely bound to happen. And I think as long as you just stay level-headed and just think it through and just still have the best attitude regardless, I think you're going to be absolutely fine. And don't take things to heart as well. We're all human. If it is your fault, own up and be like, yeah, sorry, my bad. But again, like Chris said, it's a learning curve all round, isn't it?
I can see loads of your questions coming through as well, guys. There's some wicked ones. I'm just looking at them now. Keep them coming in the Q&A box, because some of these are, well, they're all really good. But yeah, keep them coming, and we'll get to them at the end. Now, one piece of advice, it's probably hard to narrow it down to like one piece, because I'm sure you guys could like give a ton of things, but one piece of advice that you would tell someone watching this now who wanted to start a career in what you guys are doing. So let's start with Kate first.
I would say always remember that the people that you're working with will remember you, no matter how small the job you're doing is. Like I started doing, I was an intern, I was doing really small bits. The people that you work with will remember you and could potentially have opportunities for you later. Whether you're doing what Claire did, taking people out for drinks, people will remember that. Or if you just, I'm a bit rubbish at networking. So my version of networking is just trying to work as hard as possible, no matter what level of job I'm doing. And then hopefully one day someone will remember that. And that has worked out so far in my career. People have been like, I remember you doing well at this, so I want to give you a chance at this, which has been great. So yeah, just always make sure you're polite, make sure you're on time, make sure you work hard, and remember that those people should remember you if you do a good enough job, and hopefully that leads to something in the future.
And Claire, same for you?
I think it's just really important to look at your journey as for yourself as a whole, and not just narrow it down to 1 month, 1 week. I think we can get caught up in it, especially the year that we've had in the pandemic. We can get a bit caught up on, I haven't progressed, I haven't done this, you know, I haven't done much creatively this year. And I think if you look back to the very start when you're starting out, always remember to look at the journey as a whole, no matter what you're doing, and not just small little parts of it. Look at all the wins as a whole, and that will keep you, you know, motivated to carry on. And as long as you're passionate about what you want to do, and you are doing things to do it, then I think that's all you need.
And same for you, Chris?
Yeah, I think passion is super important. You've got to really want to be in it. I think also for me, I'd probably say just go and get some experience and go out there. Doesn't have to be work experience. It's just go into the sort of events you're interested in. You'll pick up little things about what sort of people have which jobs, or you might trigger in your head like what goes into this. So it's just kind of being around the sort of spaces that you see yourself in, so you can envision yourself actually being involved and being a part of this, and actually at the end of it putting it on yourself. So get out there. My favorite time of the year is summer, when I go and do market research with all the festivals and just go to everyone I can and see how well they're doing and see what bits I can nick.
Do you know what as well? Like, I mean, going back to like when I was a kid personally, and through like secondary school as well, I was the shyest person. Like literally, I went red the minute anyone looked at me. I still do now. Like I still get caught out. And I think I spoke to one of my friends randomly yesterday, who I haven't spoken to for about 10 years. We went to school together, and she was like, I can't believe you're working in radio, because even though you used to talk way too much, like to your friends and stuff, if anyone looked at you, or a teacher like looked at you in class, you would just go bright red. Like we would never have expected you to work in radio. And I think that's really important to take from this as well, that you don't have to be the most confident person in the world at all. Like you don't need to be watching this now and going, I just don't think I could do this because I'm too shy, you know, I'm a little bit scared to talk to people all the time, I go really red. That, do you know what, that is nonsense, because everyone's in the same boat. And what you don't realize is the more years you do and the more time you spend in any industry, everyone feels exactly the same. There's always someone sitting there on their own. There's always someone walking up to an event that goes in on their own and is absolutely bricking it because they don't want to go in on their own. I'll be completely honest with you. We went to an awards night last night, a radio awards for the Arias, and I was going with Ricky and Melvin, but they thought they was going to be late, and immediately, it's so silly, I was like, do you know what, I don't want to go in on my own. I felt really anxious all of a sudden and really scared, and then something inside me just went, just do it. Like everybody in there is probably going in thinking the same. And I think that's so important, that all of you guys, I don't know whether you grew up being the most confident people or not, but that is irrelevant. You have spot your jobs because you're so passionate and you've worked so hard. And I don't know if you agree with me, like Kate, that speaks volumes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, even just hearing what Claire was saying about taking people for drinks, honestly, I was filled with dread. I've tried to do the networking thing. I've tried to do it. You know, I've been to, especially kind of like women in music, women in events, those kind of things where I know that they would be so good for me. And I sit on my own in the corner and I try and get up the courage, or it takes me 3 months to send an email to someone. And I think, yeah, people are in general nicer than you're expecting them to be. People 100%. Are really kind, and everyone was kind of in your position and everyone wants to help. Like, there's no reason that they shouldn't want someone to come up. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that. But that's why I prefer doing it on site with people, on events. You know, just once you feel a bit more relaxed, that's when I'm more likely to chat to them, find out a bit more about what they do. So if you're super nervous about it, there is usually a way around it. But people are nice, I would say.
They're all nice. They are all nice. Any regrets, guys? Because I do want to try and get the balance right here in terms of all your jobs sound absolutely amazing, and like I would want all of them. But Chris, for you, any regrets, you know, launching the festival and just in general?
I don't think I regret it ever. I think I did. There was at points in my journey where I kind of regretted getting into it because I wasn't at the stage where I wanted to be. I mean, I studied at Cambridge Uni and was due to do like a career in investment banking, like make loads of money and whatever. But I decided to do the festival, and at times I had no money to like get home because I was so broken. It was a very difficult journey to get to a stage where I was like, right, we're doing something really good here. So I think I don't regret any of that part of it, but at points I was like, oh, maybe this was a bad idea. But I think it's a case of just like having that goal and like really like going for it without anyone telling you otherwise. Like if you've got a clear goal, there's nothing that can knock you off. So, and then at the end of the day, you won't regret it because you would have achieved it.
Exactly that. And Claire, like for you as well, I know I'm going to mention nursing again, but like surely for you, the biggest regret would have been not doing what you're now doing, right?
I think I should have just trusted my instincts and my passions and actually went for it, and maybe researched and looked a little bit more into how I could have done that without going down that route and kind of wasting a year almost. But at the same time, it's all, you know, learning experiences. You know, I might be able to help you out if you're ill still, so it's not gone to waste. But also, yeah, like university in general, it's great. I learned a lot of things, but I think for my job in particular, I think I would have benefited more maybe from an apprenticeship or just generic volunteering with experience, actually getting hands-on, like working with someone, with a team, rather than going through that 3 years of uni. But it's not a bad thing, you know. I did still learn stuff.
Should we go through some questions?
Yeah,
there's a lot, and I'm bored of my voice. I don't know about you guys. Well, I mean, I've still got to give you the questions, annoyingly. But not about that part. Okay, so let's go for this one from Beth Ross. She says, I've got a question for Claire. You have my dream job. What is the best thing about working on the events at Radio 1? She's coming for your job, Claire.
That's so cute. That's really, really nice. Thank you. I think the best thing is just, you know, you do all that prep work. Sometimes we're working on an event for 3 months straight for something like Big Weekend, and then you're on site, on the ground. Things are starting to calm down a little bit towards the end of the show day, and, you know, you might get a chance to nip out and actually watch a performance. And, you know, that, you know, the iconic firework moments at the end, and you think, oh, I actually played quite a big part in this. And, you know, sorry, that was my alarm. And made sure that, you know, it all went to plan. I think that feeling of seeing, yes, it was stressful. Yes, it was long days. I'm shattered. But you know what, it's been worth it. And looking around in the crowds and being like, oh my God, like I've been a part of this, is a really good feeling.
Do you, Claire, do you like keep like little memory boxes or little memory stuff of things you've worked on?
Yeah, so I've kept all my my lanyards and my wristbands, all my tickets to anything, and they're all just shoved in a big box under my bed. And I would love to one day just frame them properly and hang them nice, because I love keeping stuff like that. I'm so sentimental, and I used to do that before working in events. Kept all my concert tickets, going back years ago, and I think it's really nice to then look back and see, oh my God, all these things that I've been to or been a part of. It's really nice.
You should get them out now, because when you're having a rough day, if you actually like can see your achievements, I feel like it kind of gets you through anything. Like if you're having a really, really rubbish one, you're like, oh, I managed to do that, and I've done that on my own.
I need to get them out on the wall.
Next time we do one of these, want to see them behind you, please.
In the background.
Got another question here. Where are we? Oh, sorry, hang on a second, let me scroll up. Okay, how would you go about contacting artists for performances at events? That's coming from Jamie, and that is to you, Chris.
So most of the artists we book have all got like agents, so they're booking agents, and it's kind of developing a relationship with them, because there's like a few big agents that have loads of like all the artists on their rosters. Depending though on the size of them, some artists at like lower level don't have agents, and you can kind of either get in touch with them direct and book them. Most will have a manager. So going about that the official way is kind of the way to do it. I always thought you could, if you like knew someone that knew someone really big, you could get them to play on your stage, but it never works like that. No, unfortunately. So yeah, it's getting that relationship with agents is the main way to do it, and there's a few key ones that you can go out and find, and they look after most of the artists of the industry.
Wicked, thank you. And this one is to you, Kate. It's from Lil, and it says, I've just finished my degree in psychology, but thinking about going into events. What is the best way to get started, in your opinion?
In my opinion, the best way is to find a way to give it a go and check that it's for you. So actually a couple of years ago, even though I was already working at the Roundhouse, as I said, I've always been interested in music, so I've always been looking for other ways to get involved. I did something called Oxjam, which is an Oxfam festival. I applied to be a festival manager, didn't really need much experience, and I put one on in Brixton, so it was like a multi-venue festival. That's a really good example of just how you can get involved. Things like that are out there. Oxjam, for example, is in loads of different places, so you can do regional ones wherever you are in the country. And then also reaching out to people if you're brave enough, and just going for low-level jobs. You won't be able to message someone and be like, can I be your production manager on this? But just ask them, do you need any help with box office? Can I help tickets? If you can get that low-level, entry-level experience, I really recommend just trying it out. You don't want to jump massively into something that you've never tried. Doing some volunteer work if you have time. I'm aware that like in order to volunteer you have to be kind of time rich and also be able to afford not being paid, so I appreciate that's not for everyone, but if you have time, go low level, look for stuff like that, and you don't need to be the manager. You can be just checking people in, you can just be saying hello, wearing a steward t-shirt. I think there are opportunities out there,
and like you said, you might not start straight away doing something that you initially really want to do, but even that in itself is experience, and you might start doing something and go, do you know what, I didn't even know this existed, or this actually I've learned loads of new skills, and those skills you never forget and you take them with you, don't you?
Yeah, and like as I say, I've been working at the Roundhouse. I actually left briefly, and then COVID happened and a lot of stuff happened. Now I'm back. But even when I was working at the Roundhouse, I was doing like box office shifts for like a label who were doing some gigs around. I was doing the voluntary stuff. I was working at a couple of festivals, like using the contacts that I'd made to get very low level jobs and voluntary jobs, not thinking I was above them, because in my day job I am an event manager, because it's a different sector. So yeah, even if you kind of are on a path, just be willing to have a go at other stuff which could like really change the path that you're on.
100%. And this one is to you, Claire. There's so many. I'm loving this. Keep your questions coming in, guys. We'll get through. How long we've got another 20. Well, we can go to past, so just keep them coming in, flood us. This is for you, Claire. I'm wanting to change career. what is the best piece of advice you would offer someone with no events experience whatsoever? I mean, you're the perfect person.
I think just maybe try and go to events as well, you know, try and go to them, see what type of events you like to do. Do you like to work in festivals? Do you like to work in arena shows? Because they're two completely different type of environments. You know, I know teams who work on festivals who, you know, they're on site for weeks on end. They live on site, like the likes of Glastonbury and those type of events. And, you know, I'm not really into the whole camping stuff. So I'm really quite glad that we don't have to do that. But some people absolutely love it. So just going to events in general and just figuring out what you like, and then looking into the teams that produce them. Is it an independent company? Is it someone like the BBC? And again, just looking and touching base with that person. Not even like meeting up, because I struggle with that, even though I might look like I don't. I promise you, I am so nervous when it comes to meeting people. Even doing this before, I was like psyching myself up with Dua Lipa, like, are you okay? It's gonna be fine. Just a generic email, you know, no one sees you, take away that embarrassment, don't feel cringe. A generic email, back it off and see what you get back. And I think that is the best advice. And just actually hear about the role in general, and don't just presume as well.
You know what, that's wicked actually, because thinking about that, like, if you can do your initial chat via email and put that confidence in an email, I always feel like first impressions do massively count, obviously, but I feel like if you can get that confidence in an email, then automatically that person thinks you are confident, and then you just go in and blag it, which is what we've all done, let's be honest.
Yeah, and that's the first hurdle, box stuff, like that's the intro, you know, you've made the first step.
I love that. I love that. This is from Becky Wingle, who says, hi, Chris. I'm currently working on a wellbeing festival in my local town of Newquay. What is the best way to go about funding? Do we look for multiple sponsors or focus more on one sponsor?
This is my area that I do for Strawberries and Cream, and it's been a very tough year for it, because a lot of brands are a bit worried about putting their money into live events because of the COVID situation. I found this year trying to go for smaller sponsorship kind of options rather than one big one, and get like a few different ones in. So like break up maybe different areas of your sites. I try and sell like different stages, the camping area, the VIP area, like I'm selling the mayonnaise this year. So like you should try and break it down into different areas of the festival that you can sell off at smaller prices, so that it's like a lesser barrier for those brands to get involved with. But it is a very tricky job this year, more so than ever, I think, because of COVID.
And what about like UK as well, from like a more of a corporate side? How would you say that works?
So that's not something that we necessarily do at the Roundhouse, because we host rather than do the things like the sponsorship, but there is a development team, because the Roundhouse is a charity. So they go about building relationships with donors who then fund the amazing work that we do with young people. Roundhouse is a charity helping young people get into the creative industry, so check it out, everyone. So yeah, they do that. And then anything I've done, the kind of like, for example, the charity festival that I did, obviously a tiny scale compared to what Chris is doing, but yeah, it's just about identifying local businesses, because it was a local festival. And we also did like stage sponsorship, really small. We thought small. We got someone to sponsor the flyers, and printing company, so everyone could see how great their printing was on our flyers, stuff like that. Like really think about the product that you could get sponsored and who is linked to that product that could sponsor you.
Makes complete sense. Thank you. Oh, this is a good one. This is from Jacko. Is it better to study business management or music business if I want to work in live events? Who wants to answer this bad boy? Take it away.
I mean, I studied something completely different. I mean, I think there's definitely elements of both that you can use. I think, and it's just playing to your strengths as well. It's like, what do you enjoy really at the end of the day? Like, what gets you ticking and what's going to get you through university? Like, I think if you enjoy the music side of stuff, go for that. But if it's the business angle, go for that, because at the end of the day, you've got to get a good degree. Employers aren't going to look too much at the course. It's more of how well you've done in that course, what sort of university you've done, and what sort of stuff you've done outside of university while you've been studying that. So don't put too much pressure on the course, just kind of get a good grade and then do stuff outside of it. That's what's going to make you more employable, I think.
Claire, would you add to that, mate?
Like 100% agree with Chris. You know, it's you're on that course for 3 years. You've got to do something that you want to go to your lectures, you want to get up, you want to do your work. So pick the one that you think in your heart that you're actually going to enjoy.
This next question, love this, love the confidence. This is wicked. So this is a question for all of you, so no escaping. Do your events venues offer placements or volunteering opportunities for recent graduates? I know, Kate, you just mentioned obviously that you guys do a lot of cool stuff for young people. Should we start with you, Kate, and then we'll go Kate, Claire, Chris on this one?
Yeah, of course. So Roundhouse is at its core about helping young people get into the creative industries. So everyone, you should definitely, you know, I'm just going to give it a little blast while I'm here. Go to the website, see what we have. We have amazing state-of-the-art equipment, recording studios. We have a radio there. We're working on potentially getting some placements for more specific teams. I know that we do, our technical team has an apprenticeship, for example. So does our new tech team, IT tech team have an apprenticeship as well. So yes, and then also our visitor services team takes volunteers for our gigs as well, which is a really good way to meet the team, get in, again, if you have the time and can afford to do some volunteer shifts. So yes, we do.
Yay!
Come,
one down, 2 to go. Claire.
Yes, so Radio 1 have a Where Begins scheme, which is a paid internship. And while you're on that sort of internship, you get to work with all the different departments at Radio 1. So you will get the chance to see what live events do, as well as production, marketing, all the different departments. So I definitely keep an eye out on BBC Careers. Make sure you sign up for an account. So when it does come online to go live with the applications, you're ready to submit one, and fingers crossed you'll get shortlisted. Come
on. And Chris?
Yeah, we were actually taking on our first paid internship in August, actually. What I've noticed actually is quite difficult to get into the live event space on a volunteering place for people of low income background, because obviously some people can't afford or have the time to kind of just go in and work for free. So we're actually trying to launch one with Sony and Proud, our events company, of like a wider paid internship for next year. But there are obviously there's so much room to volunteer on a festival site. I mean, from anything from like bar staff to helping with social media. We've got loads of blog writers that kind of there's entryways into it if you've got a little bit of time and can afford to do that. But yeah, we've got the one come in with a Pot Noodle, actually. They're sponsoring it in this August, and then we're looking for another one next year, which is focusing more on people from disadvantaged backgrounds.
And like Chris, is it like as simple as if someone wanted to contact you to potentially become a volunteer, they just go on the website? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, we've got a website. We're actually really active on the DMs as well. A lot of our stuff literally comes through people reaching out on Instagram. Like, I like the festival. What can I do to get involved? And then we're quite friendly with people behind it at the end of the day. So we've offered loads of people like options to like help out with social media, do a load of blog writing, and then just applying online. Really, there's a bit on our website for that.
And also, you've got nothing to lose by sending a message, sending a DM, sending an email. You've got more to lose by not doing it. So, like, you might as well try. Like, why not? Why not? Life is too short. This is coming from Jessica, who says, when planning your first event, what are the most important areas to make sure you've got organised? Great question. What do you need to supervise yourself versus partnering, getting outside help? Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah. So what's the most important areas to make sure you're organised? Should we go with Claire first on this one?
I think for me, for my role, it's definitely checking in with what needs to happen first. So in my role, I have to make sure that the hotels are on hold, sometimes a year in advance, because if we're taking 300 people to likes of where we were for Big Weekend the year before last, Middlesbrough, it's making sure that everyone actually has somewhere to stay while we're there. So, you know, that's kind of the first thing I do in my role. And then all the other stuff follows, like we need to do the designs for the passes and the lanyards for, you know, what the public can buy, the merchandise, and then also the crew, what they wear as well. And then all the other bits will just fall in place. And I think if you just are really good at making lists, or making collaborative workspaces, whether that be a Google Doc, just a normal Excel, and just keeping track of your deadlines and making sure that you're hitting them in advance, then I think, you know, that's what you need to do, really.
Can I ask
I hope that answered it.
Oh, you did, like perfectly, literally spot on. Kate, can I ask the same to you?
Yes, so it is a little bit different for me. So I would be more like on the receiving end of all the admin that Claire did, for example. So say you wanted Radio 1 in Camden, Big Weekend in Camden. So what I would do is just make sure you're walking through the event and do it from the guest perspective first, I would say, and think of everything that you are thinking and seeing as you're walking through that event. Write it down, because that's something you're going to have to sort. Whether it's the are the toilets clean? Have you got the cleaning staff booked? What food are they going to eat? Everything like that. And then from the other side as well, so from the production side, checking in with all the different teams. Like, my job relies heavily on me having great relationships with the other teams, knowing what they need, and then me relaying it to the client. And then I'd also say, like, the great thing about a checklist is, or to-do list, you only really need to write it once.
Yes.
Certainly in my job, like, even though the nature of the events change and I can be doing completely different things from day to day, the core things are really the same. So if you really dedicate your time to doing it once, then for all future events, you should really just be tweaking it with the things that you may have missed. And like, you will realize if you've missed something important for the next time. So make sure you write it down at the time, not a year later, I would say as well.
Brilliant. This is from Richard. I'm going to ask you this, Chris. How do you deal with last minute cancellations? My gosh, yeah. So like for actual performers. So if someone massive cancelled on you last minute, do you have like backups? How does it work? Well,
touch wood, that's not happened to me just yet. I mean, you just have to kind of grow with it. There was last festival, we couldn't get some bits in sight and people were expecting stuff. I think you just have to kind of roll with it and work around what you got. Maybe like some like what we've had is artists turning up late to events. So it's like actually just asking artists before and after if they can either extend their set a little bit, if the manager's happy with it. I mean, at the end of the day, these things do happen, like everything, like, and it's when we're only human. I think, remember, Skepta came a bit late to one of our initial events, but there was so much hype that he was going to turn up, that we were all right. But at the end, there were points in that event where I didn't think he was going to come. So it's just rolling with it, and people will forgive kind of things changing. We're only human at the end of the day. You can't control everything. And yeah, I think it's just seeing who else on site can help you out and who can fit in and whatever, and just being resourceful at the end of the day.
And I'm not being funny, if an artist turns up late to a festival, it just gives us a lot of time to go and get another drink and another hot dog. So I'm happy as a punter. I'll take it. Take your time. Claire, what about for you? Obviously, we've mentioned Big Weekend. So in terms of people cancelling or schedules changing, have you been involved in anything like that?
For the wider team, things are always changing. You know, when we do our events like that, we also have things like interviews for the radio beforehand or after the performance. They have social moments where they might do stuff for Instagram and Twitter. So I think once one thing changes, it changes the whole schedule of the whole day for that artist if someone says they're late or they're not coming anymore. And I think we've have such a great team that are able to just rejig things, like Chris says, speak to the artist's management, try and bring things forward, extend things, make them last longer. and just be ready to be flexible, and almost like you're firefighting a bit, just ready to like, right, what's going to come at me next? And things can just be tweaked. And as long as you're a good communicator and you're telling the people who need to know that those things have changed, there's nothing worse than someone's waiting for your artists to come to the stage, but actually they're not even in the building yet. So as long as you're communicating it and the people on the other side know, then everyone's able to react in a good way. And, you know, the audience might not even notice that it's even happened by the time you fix them.
Love that. Love it. Love, love, love. Jamie says, are there any aspects of events that you never thought about or didn't think were important that turned out to be really important? Kate, I'm going to come to you.
Oh, that is a good one. I know I've spoken about like organization and logistics before. I don't think I knew how big the part that they would play would be in my life. So definitely that. Also, I think you can imagine an event as like a one man or woman show, where you're in your own lane and you're getting your job done. And something that I have definitely learned is that there are so many facets, there are so many teams, everything fits as a tiny part of a tiny puzzle. And like Claire was saying, if one thing gets thrown off, that's it, the whole thing is thrown off. So I would say that, yeah, I didn't realize kind of how you will be a really small part in a really big machine, and how important your interaction with other teams are. Like, I could not get anything done if I wasn't able to speak to my tech team, and I wasn't able to speak to my housekeeping team. You know, you're a small cog in a big machine, and like just knowing that and knowing how important those relationships are, I think if you know that before you start, it'll save you a lot of time.
And it's so exciting, like when you talk about like having a big team and like all of yous working together to absolutely smash it, like that's so exciting, because all of your roles are so vital. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, if you're just starting out in your career or you're at the top of your game. To me, you know, a job title is a job title at the end of the day. The person who has, you know, he's at the top of their game doesn't necessarily mean they are doing as much as what they used to anymore. You quite often find that it's the people starting out that are actually working their absolute bits off, and they are just as important as the top boss, because without them you don't have an event, and it's that simple, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're working, I know obviously these guys will be working with the same people or similar people as you kind of travel around, but working in a venue, you're working with the same people day in, day out, every day. Because when I'm not on site, you know, until 4 a.m. doing an event, I'm there at 9 till 5 doing all the admin for an event. So especially when you're in a venue, you really do build those relationships with the different teams and realize how important it is, because you're stuck with them. You're there and you're receiving the companies coming to you. And I think for some people that's probably not what you want to do, because you might want to travel around like these guys. I really enjoy doing that as well, but I also love having the home and knowing everyone and knowing all of the nooks and crannies and all of that kind of thing. So something to think about in events. It's not just production companies and festivals. Like, venues are a really amazing part of the events industry as well.
And Chris, same for you. Something that you didn't think was important as it turned out to be. There must be a few for you.
I mean, there's so many. I was literally trying to think which one can I put my finger on? There is like, I mean, the licensing, that is really, I mean, it's a serious one, but it's like super key. There's been times where we've like, right, we've got the venue and we're putting everything on here, but are the council actually going to let us put 10,000 people in this field? And I think the last venue we tried to get to, that wasn't the case. There was like only a one-way road into it. And they were like, you will never get in 10,000 people here. So we wouldn't get a license. So we had to move. And that was after we kind of done so much. And that process takes a long time as well to get it done. So, I mean, just focusing on like the less glamorous stuff is super important, because that is actually fundamental to being, if that event is going to be able to go ahead or not. There's so much.
No, I can imagine, like, this is like, you could probably write a book about all that stuff, but I'm glad you narrowed it down to just that little one. Otherwise, this session's going on till midnight, guys. I mean, I'd love to stay and have a chat till midnight. I've got to be on air, so I can't do that. If my boss is watching, don't worry, I will be there. So probably, what's the time? Probably last question now. And it seems a little bit of a down question, but this is so important. And I think this is really, really good for you to answer, because change happens in life and it's how you deal with it, which is amazing. I love this question. We don't have a name, but it says, what has been the biggest change to your industry because of the pandemic, and how have you had to adapt? And I feel like there's going to be some really positive things that have come out of this in a weird way. So do you know what, Chris? Let's start with you again.
So can you say it again?
So what's been the biggest change to your industry because of the pandemic, and how have you had to adapt?
I think the biggest change for us is just not. I mean, we haven't had an event for the last 2 years, and it's just like, what is live events going to look like when we're all allowed back out? Like, we've all spent this last year or so like being socially distanced and like working out if you can hug people when you meet them, and like not being in crowds and that sort of thing. And it's, how is everyone gonna be back in like 10,000 people in a mosh pit sort of thing? It's like, what is the live events industry gonna look like? So we've had to kind of really be careful of that, because people are going to have different preferences now, and not everyone's going to be comfortable going back into crowds and that sort of thing. So like, how is the event going to be laid out off the back of different people's preferences?
And also, Chris, like, I think that's spot on what you said about everybody's different. There's half of us that are, gagging to get out and be in crowds of people, but there's also another half of us that are very anxious, and like, we've not been around that many people for a long time. And I think it's important to realize that just because a festival's going on, 9 times out of 10 these festivals are streamed, these gigs are streamed. If you're not comfortable about actually being there, get your mates around when you're allowed to and stream it. You can ease yourself back in. You don't have to go the whole hog. Or equally, you go to a festival and you don't have to be in the middle of that mosh pit. You can be on the outside of it, which is really important.
Yeah, we're trying to work out loads of different things outside of the music and the mosh pits that can keep people entertained, because I think people are going to want that this year. It's a lot.
I'll be in the mosh pit, let me tell you that for nothing. I'll see you there. I'll be dragging you in with me, Chris.
I'll be there too.
Hey, let's come to you on this one then. So the biggest change in your industry, and how have you dealt with it?
Well, actually, the pandemic was a huge change for me. So I was actually working at the beginning of the year. I was working at Live Nation. I was working on international touring, doing VIP experiences, and then obviously COVID hit. Everything was cancelled. I just made an extremely expensive order of merchandise for a large British pop star that had 2020 written all over it. So that was my first thing, was, oh my goodness, that is a lot of money gone down the drain. And then I was furloughed, and then unfortunately I was made redundant in October. And so then I actually got a job as a nursery teacher, teaching assistant. And I was doing that from January, before I got the call from my manager, and luckily she needed some help, so I went back to the Roundhouse. So it worked out okay. But in answer to the question about like adapting on a personal level, a good thing that's come out of it is that I now roll with the punches a lot more than I did before. I was very much like a 5-year plan kind of girl. And now I'm very much like, you know what, if I can have a job that I enjoy, that's amazing. And I roll with it a lot more. And like the resilience, like it was really hard. Being furloughed, feeling really useless, took a massive toll on my mental health. It was really difficult. Being made redundant sucked. But the being resilient, looking for jobs where you didn't need loads of experience in order so that I could keep paying my rent, basically. So I would say, yeah, it's made me a lot more adaptable. And then in terms of the venue itself has adapted. We now have been doing more like filming for TV, that kind of thing, where you don't need an audience in, or you can have reduced audience, or you can just have the crew in. And also I think it's given everyone in the organisation a time to step back and focus on our values as well. So we've been doing loads of work on our diversity and inclusion values, loads of things, thinking about safe spaces for people, how we can really come back better and stronger as a more comfortable space. Like Chris was saying, people will have different expectations of gig venues and events as well. So I think, it's all about adaptability. I can't actually remember the original question, but that has been my experience.
You answered it perfectly, absolutely beautifully. And Claire, final word to you.
Yeah, so I think Kate said a really good way, where there is just being adaptable. We went from a year jam-packed of events and our usual calendar year of doing so many different things, and one by one they were just getting cancelled left, right and centre. And I'm originally from Liverpool. I moved to London to do this job. I used to be absolutely buzzing every single day, walking into Radio 1, seeing the team, and to then go from working at home, we're not doing events, we're working from home, you're not seeing your mates, you're not being able to do anything. It's such a complete different shock, and I think it was a real struggle for everyone. But I'm really, really thankful that the BBC, has kept me employed and kind of allow me to do other different things. So I've been working with a different team, but been helping doing these sessions as well with a team who've put these together, which is a Slay team. And then also looking at how we can do events. Once things started to change, researching venues that we could do small scale things where we didn't have an audience and it was just a case of outdoor recordings that we could stream or put on the TV. So it kind of changed massively, but it was good that we could adapt, and that was the most important thing. And just try and keep your spirits up, because I know it's gone, but it will come back to us one day. The good times have to come back, don't they?
Yes, they do. They're happening already. They are, because they are. It's been a great session, guys. Honestly, I love you all. This has been amazing. I really hope if you've watched this today that you've got something out of it. I hope that if you've watched it and you really wanted to work in events, that you now do, that's incredible. Equally, if you've watched this today and gone, do you know what, events isn't for me, incredible. Now you know that is definitely something that you don't want to do. Also, I've got to mention the Radio 1 career quiz on the BBC website. I don't know if you guys have done it yet, but I did it last night, and it's super quick. It asks you loads of questions, and it is amazing. At the end of it, it basically tells you what your potential dream job could be, or what you would potentially be good at. And it is so bizarre, because the questions they ask you never think that they are going to get 100% right, but they do. One of my main things is time. Like, I hate people being late. I hate being late. It freaks me out. They picked that up straight away on my one. Unfortunately, instead of radio presenter, I'd have been Devo if it was something else. Imagine. Or that would have been a good talking point on this panel. But please go and do that, guys. If you're, really interested in what the outcome would be, it takes a couple of minutes. Go and get yourself on the BBC website. Chris, Claire, Kate, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, it's been amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed speaking to you all and hearing these guys' jobs as well. I've really enjoyed it too. I feel inspired.
Yeah, I want to go work in events now.
I want to go to a mosh pit.
Yes.
And, to all of you watching this, please go out there, smash life. Whether you are the most confident person, the quietest, shyest person, go out there. And I cannot wait to be playing at one of your events soon, because it will happen. We know that 100%. Guys, we love you. See you later.
Bye.